Everyone remembers the catchy chorus of Take On Me by Aja or the iconic orchestral opening of Bittersweet Symphony by the Verve. These unforgettable songs skyrocketed their bands to global fame, but also became their defining, and sometimes only, moments in the spotlight. For some bands, the combination of success, internal strife, and public controversies led to a sudden disappearance from the mainstream. Whether due to personal conflicts, legal troubles, or creative burnout, their fleeting fame became a cautionary tale in the music industry. Which one-hit wonder band surprised you the most? Share your thoughts and let's dive into these fascinating stories. Four non-blondes burst onto the music scene in 1992 with their breakout hit What's Up, an anthem of frustration and self-discovery that resonated across generations. With Linda Perry's powerful vocals and the song's catchy, heartfelt chorus, the track became a global phenomenon, topping charts in multiple countries and receiving heavy rotation on MTV. The song's raw, unpolished sound and Perry's distinctive voice stood out in a music landscape dominated by polished pop and grunge, making the band an unexpected but beloved success story. However, despite the massive acclaim, the band's success was short-lived. Linda Perry, the creative powerhouse behind the group, became increasingly frustrated with the industry and the direction of the band. She felt constrained by the pressures of commercial expectations and creative compromises. This tension culminated in Perry's departure from the band, citing creative differences and a desire to pursue a solo career where she had more artistic freedom. Without Perry's unique presence and songwriting, Four Non-Blondes disbanded in 1994, just 2 years after their meteoric rise to fame. Linda Perry went on to establish a highly successful career as a producer and songwriter, working with artists such as Pink, Christina Aguilera, and Alicia Keys. Meanwhile, What's Up has remained a cultural touchstone, often covered and referenced in popular media, ensuring that Four Non-Blondes' brief but impactful legacy lives on. Chumbawamba became a global sensation in 1997 with their hit Tough Thumping, a rebellious anthem featuring the infectious chorus, I get knocked down, but I get up again. The song's upbeat energy and relatable message of resilience turned it into an international party anthem, reaching the top of the charts in multiple countries. Despite the song's commercial success, many listeners were unaware that Chumbawamba was deeply rooted in anarchist and anti-establishment politics. The band, formed in the early 1980s, was known for blending punk, folk, and pop influences with radical political themes, while Tough Thumping introduced them to mainstream audiences. Their sudden fame created a stark contrast with their anti-corporate ethos. They often use their platform to challenge societal norms, criticize capitalism, and support activist causes. One of the most controversial moments came in 1998 when band member Danbert Nobakan poured a bucket of ice water on UK Deputy Prime Minister John Prescott during the Brit Awards, further cementing their image as unapologetic rebels. However, their radical activism began to overshadow their music. Fans who expected more anthems like Tough Thumping were met with politically charged albums that diverged from mainstream appeal. As public interest waned, Chumbawamba gradually faded from the spotlight, officially disbanding in 2012 after decades of musical activism. Despite their disappearance from the charts, the legacy of Tough Thumping endures as a rallying cry for resilience, while the band remains a symbol of unwavering dedication to their principles. In 1997, Chumbawamba stormed the airwaves with Tough Thumping, a raucous anthem of resilience featuring the unforgettable chorus, I get knocked down, but I get up again. The song became a global smash, climbing the charts and turning the band into overnight sensations. However, despite the song's seemingly fun and carefree vibe, Chumbawamba's roots ran deep in political activism. Formed in the 1980s as an anarchist punk collective, the band had a history of opposing capitalism, inequality, and systemic oppression. Their sudden mainstream success felt ironic, as the rebellious group was suddenly rubbing shoulders with the very corporate institutions they opposed. Controversy soon followed. During a live performance at the Variety Awards, the band drenched Deputy Prime Minister John Prescott with water in protest of government policies. Additionally, They made headlines for encouraging fans to pirate their music rather than buying it. Their outspokenness alienated some mainstream listeners and critics who saw them as self-righteous, causing their political image to overshadow their music. As public interest in their antics waned, Chumbawamba struggled to replicate the commercial success of Tough Thumping. By the early 2000s, the band had largely faded from the mainstream, though they continued to produce politically charged music for their dedicated fan base. In 2012, the band officially disbanded, though their anthem of resilience remains a nostalgic reminder of their brief but controversial moment in the spotlight. The Verve, Bittersweet Symphony is one of the most iconic tracks of the 1990s, instantly recognizable for its soaring strings and poignant lyrics about life's struggles and compromises. Released in 1997, the song catapulted the Verve to international fame, earning critical acclaim and Grammy nominations. However, behind the success lay a legal battle that would define the band's career and overshadow their achievements. The song's signature orchestral sample came from an instrumental version of a Rolling Stones track, which the Verve's management believed was legally cleared. However, after the song's release, the Rolling Stones' former manager sued, claiming the sample was unauthorized. The lawsuit resulted in the songwriting credits being awarded to Mick Jagger and Keith Richards, depriving the Verve of millions in royalties. Frontman Richard Ashcroft famously quipped that it was the best song Jagger and Richards had written in 20 years. Despite releasing critically acclaimed albums like Urban Hymns and enjoying a loyal fan base, the Verve never quite escaped the shadow of Bittersweet Symphony. Internal tensions, fueled by the legal battle and creative differences, led to multiple breakups and reunions. By 2009, the band disbanded for good. While Ashcroft pursued a solo career, the song's rights were eventually returned to him in 2019, offering a bittersweet resolution to one of music's most infamous legal disputes. The Baja Men. In 2000, the Baja Men released Who Let the Dogs Out, an infectious party anthem that became a cultural phenomenon. With its catchy hook and energetic beats, the song dominated the charts and became a staple at sporting events, weddings, and celebrations worldwide. It won a Grammy Award for Best Dance Recording and became one of the most recognizable tracks of the decade. However, despite its massive success, the song's novelty status also became the band's greatest challenge. Critics dismissed Who Let the Dogs Out as a one-hit novelty track, and many questioned the band's ability to produce serious follow-up material. The song's commercial appeal overshadowed the rest of their catalog, making it difficult for the Baja Men to escape its shadow. Although the band continued to release albums and perform, subsequent tracks failed to gain the same traction or resonate with mainstream audiences. In the years that followed, the Baja Men remained active, especially in the Caribbean music scene, but their international presence waned. Despite the criticism, Who Let the Dogs Out endured as a nostalgic crowd pleaser, and the band embraced their role in creating an enduring cultural touchstone. By 2025, the Baja Men had secured their place in pop culture history, even if their fame was defined by one unforgettable hit. Wright Said Fred. Wright Said Fred burst onto the scene in 1991 with their cheeky, tongue-in-cheek hit, I'm Too Sexy, a satirical take on the fashion industry's obsession with image. With its infectious bass line and the brothers' deadpan delivery of lines like, I'm too sexy for my shirt, the song became an instant sensation, topping charts in multiple countries and securing the band's place as pop culture icons. Their over-the-top persona, complete with shirtless performances and unapologetic confidence, cemented their status as a fun, self-aware act. However, the very qualities that made the band popular also contributed to their downfall. Critics dismissed Wright Said Fred as a gimmick rather than serious musicians, branding them as a one-joke band. Attempts to replicate their success with songs like Don't Talk Just Kiss and Deeply Dippy found moderate success in the UK, but failed to capture the same global appeal. As the 90s came to a close, the novelty of I'm Too Sexy overshadowed their subsequent work, and their popularity faded. Despite this, Wright Said Fred has remained active in the music industry, embracing their status as a nostalgic act. They continue to perform and even released new music in the 2020s, though their legacy remains forever tied to their unforgettable, over-the-top debut hit. Los del Rio. Los del Rio became synonymous with their global smash hit Macarena in the mid-90s, a song that inspired an international dance craze and topped charts in dozens of countries. Originally a flamenco pop group from Spain, the duo, Antonio Romero Monge and Rafael Ruiz, had been making music for decades before Macarena catapulted them to global superstardom. The song's irresistible rhythm and the now iconic dance moves made it an inescapable part of weddings, school dances, and sporting events. However, the overwhelming popularity of Macarena quickly became a double-edged sword. Despite their musical talents, Los del Rio were forever labeled as a novelty act. Many listeners failed to realize that the duo had a rich career in traditional Spanish music long before their viral success. After Macarena, the duo struggled to produce another song that resonated internationally, and attempts to capitalize on the dance phenomenon with follow-up singles largely went unnoticed. By the early 2000s, Los del Rio had retreated from the global spotlight, though they continued to perform in Spain and Latin America. Despite the criticisms, Macarena remains one of the most recognizable party anthems of all time, and the duo embraced their legacy as creators of one of the biggest dance hits in history, ensuring their place in pop culture. Crash Test Dummies. In 1993, Canadian alternative rock band Crash Test Dummies released their hit song Mem 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 Mem, a quirky and haunting ballad that told strange, melancholic stories of childhood misfortunes. With Brad Roberts' deep baritone vocals and the song's unconventional title, it quickly stood out and gained traction on radio stations and MTV, reaching the top of the charts in several countries. The song's unique sound and cryptic lyrics sparked endless interpretations, but it also became a source of parody and mockery. Some critics praised the band for their originality, while others dismissed the track as bizarre and gimmicky. Despite their musical talent and thoughtful songwriting, Crash Test Dummies couldn't shake the weird one-hit wonder label. Subsequent albums failed to replicate the mainstream success of their breakout single, and the band gradually faded from the public eye. Internal conflicts and changing musical trends also contributed to their decline. By the 2000s, Crash Test Dummies had largely disbanded, though they reunited for occasional tours and special performances. Brad Roberts continued to pursue solo projects, but the band's legacy remains tied to Mem 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 Mem. Despite its polarizing reception, the song has endured as a nostalgic symbol of 90s alternative music, appreciated by fans who admired the band's distinct and unconventional approach to storytelling. Eiffel 65. In 1999, Eiffel 65 released their mega-hit Blue Dub-a-Dee, an electronic dance track with a quirky melody and heavily auto-tuned vocals that became an instant global sensation. The song's catchy chorus, futuristic vibe, and odd yet infectious lyrics made it a staple on radio stations and in clubs around the world. Blue Dub-a-Dee topped charts in more than 20 countries and was nominated for a Grammy, cementing Eiffel 65's place in late 90s pop culture. However, the song's massive popularity also drew criticism. Some detractors labeled it as repetitive, shallow, and gimmicky, dismissing the band as a novelty act rather than serious musicians. The group released follow-up singles like Move Your Body and their sophomore album, but mainstream audiences, particularly in the US, quickly moved on as music trends shifted toward hip-hop and pop-punk in the early 2000s. Despite this, Eiffel 65 maintained a loyal fan base in Europe, continuing to perform live and release new tracks for their dedicated followers. Over the years, Blue Dub-a-Dee has achieved cult status as a nostalgic anthem for 90s and early 2000s music lovers, with countless remixes and covers ensuring the song's legacy as one of the most iconic electronic hits of its era. Bobby McFerrin. Bobby McFerrin's Don't Worry, Be Happy became a cultural phenomenon in 1988, with its upbeat melody and a cappella arrangement spreading a message of optimism during a politically and socially tumultuous era. The song made history as the first a cappella track to reach #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 and earned McFerrin multiple Grammy Awards, including Song of the Year. Its catchy whistling intro and positive lyrics made it an anthem of joy and simplicity. However, The song's feel-good message wasn't universally embraced. Critics accused McFerrin of promoting complacency during a time when many were facing serious political and economic issues. Some listeners misunderstood the song's intent, assuming it was overly simplistic, rather than seeing it as a celebration of resilience. The unexpected backlash, combined with the overwhelming success of Don't Worry, Be Happy, pushed McFerrin away from the mainstream spotlight. Rather than pursuing more pop hits, McFerrin chose to focus on his passion for jazz and classical music, composing intricate works and performing alongside renowned symphony orchestras. While he never returned to the pop charts, McFerrin's influence as a pioneering vocalist has endured. He remains celebrated for his genre-defying artistry and his unique ability to turn his voice into an instrument, proving that his legacy goes far beyond his one massive hit. Lou Bega. In 1999, Lou Bega took the world by storm with Mambo No. 5, a fun and infectious track that combined mambo beats with a modern pop twist. The song's catchy melody and playful lyrics, which name-dropped various women, became a global sensation, reaching the top of the charts in more than 20 countries. With his signature fedora, vintage suits, and swing-inspired dance moves, Lou Bega revived the mambo genre for a new generation, earning praise for his unique style and flair. However, despite the song's massive success, Lou Bega was quickly dismissed by critics as a novelty act. Many felt that his retro, big band sound was a gimmick rather than a sustainable musical style. His subsequent releases, including the album A Little Bit of Mambo, failed to replicate the cultural impact of Mambo No. 5. As the early 2000s ushered in new musical trends, public interest in Lou Bega's nostalgic mambo vibe waned. Despite this, Lou Bega continued to perform around the world, particularly in Europe, where he maintained a loyal fan base. He embraced his legacy as the Mambo King and continued releasing music, though nothing reached the stratospheric heights of his debut hit. By 2025, Mambo No. 5 remains a party staple, cementing Bega's place in pop culture history as the face of one of the most memorable novelty hits of all time. Crazy Town. Crazy Town burst onto the scene in 2000 with their smash hit Butterfly, a rap-rock anthem that blended hip-hop beats with a melodic, romantic chorus. Featuring a dreamy acoustic sample from Red Hot Chili Peppers' Pretty Little Ditty and frontman Shifty Shellshock's distinctive vocals, the song became an MTV mainstay, reaching #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 and dominating radio stations worldwide. Crazy Town's fusion of rap, rock, and catchy hooks made them standout performers in the nu metal scene. However, the band's rise to fame was accompanied by controversy. They quickly became known more for their wild partying, substance abuse, and internal drama than their musical talent. As critics dismissed Butterfly as a soft departure from their heavier sound, Crazy Town faced accusations of selling out to appeal to mainstream audiences. The band's follow-up album failed to produce any significant hits, and their internal struggles with addiction and lineup changes only accelerated their decline. By 2003, Crazy Town had disbanded after struggling to recapture their earlier success. Shifty Shellshock pursued solo projects and reality TV appearances, but faced multiple legal and personal issues. While the band later attempted reunions, they never returned to mainstream prominence. Despite their troubled history, Butterfly remains an iconic anthem of the early 2000s, fondly remembered by fans who embraced its summery vibe and nostalgic sound. Hattaway. In 1993, Hattaway became a global sensation with his hit, What Is Love?, an infectious Eurodance track known for its hypnotic beat and soulful vocals. The song reached the top of the charts in Europe, the US, and beyond, becoming a dance floor staple and cultural phenomenon. Its unforgettable chorus, What Is Love?, Baby, Don't Hurt Me, and Hattaway's smooth delivery made it one of the most recognizable songs of the 90s. However, the track's widespread appeal led to an unexpected issue: parody and oversaturation. The 1998 Saturday Night Live sketches, featuring What Is Love?, with comedians bobbing their heads in unison, became an iconic pop culture moment, but also pigeonholed Hattaway's song as comedic rather than serious. The skits, later immortalized in the film A Night at the Roxbury, overshadowed Hattaway's broader career aspirations. Despite releasing multiple albums and singles, including Life and Rock My Heart, Hattaway struggled to escape the shadow of What Is Love. Although he remained a star in European music circles and toured frequently, Hattaway's international mainstream presence waned after the mid-90s. Nevertheless, What Is Love continues to live on as a nostalgic anthem, often featured in movies, TV shows, and memes. Hattaway embraced his legacy, finding solace in the song's lasting impact, even if it defined his career more than he originally hoped. Fountains of Wayne. Fountains of Wayne became overnight stars in 2003 with their tongue-in-cheek pop-rock hit, Stacy's Mom. The song's catchy chorus, upbeat guitar riffs, and humorous narrative about teenage infatuation with a friend's mother struck a chord with audiences and earned the band a Grammy nomination. The accompanying music video, featuring model Rachel Hunter as the titular Stacy's Mom, became a viral sensation in the early days of music video streaming. However, the song's massive popularity had a downside. Many critics dismissed Fountains of Wayne as a novelty act, labeling them a one-joke band, whose mainstream success was based solely on the humorous premise of Stacy's Mom. Despite these criticisms, the band was far from a gimmick. Known for their witty lyrics and clever storytelling, Fountains of Wayne had a dedicated fan base who appreciated their earlier albums, including Welcome Interstate Managers and tracks like Hackensack and Radiation Vibe. Despite their loyal following, the band never replicated the commercial success of Stacy's Mom. In the years that followed, they released more critically acclaimed albums, but mainstream audiences had largely moved on. The band officially disbanded in 2013. Tragically, co-founder Adam Schlesinger passed away in 2020 due to complications from COVID-19. Today, Fountains of Wayne is remembered both for their standout hit and their underrated contributions to the indie rock scene. Vanilla Ice. In 1990, Vanilla Ice became a household name with his smash hit Ice Ice Baby, the first hip-hop song to top the Billboard Hot 100. The infectious bassline, catchy lyrics, and Ice's confident delivery made the track a defining anthem of the early 90s. However, the song's signature beat, sampled from Queen and David Bowie's Under Pressure, sparked major controversy. Critics accused Vanilla Ice of failing to properly credit the original artists, and the ensuing legal battles damaged his credibility. Additionally, questions about his background and claims of street credibility led to further criticism, with many dismissing him as inauthentic. Despite his initial fame, Vanilla Ice struggled to sustain his career. His follow-up projects failed to capture the same attention, and by the mid-90s, his music was largely overshadowed by the rise of grunge and gangster rap. However, instead of disappearing completely, Vanilla Ice rebranded himself in the 2000s. He embraced his one-hit wonder status, appearing in reality TV shows like The Surreal Life and launching a successful home renovation series, The Vanilla Ice Project. By 2025, Vanilla Ice had fully leaned into his nostalgic appeal, performing Ice Ice Baby at throwback events and maintaining a presence in pop culture. While his early controversies derailed his music career, his rebranding as a TV personality and nostalgia icon allowed him to remain relevant in unexpected ways. Harvey Danger. Harvey Danger's 1997 hit Flagpole Sitta captured the spirit of 90s disillusionment with its witty, biting lyrics and infectious chorus. The song became an alternative rock staple, receiving heavy airplay and featuring prominently in films and TV shows. Its sarcastic lines like "I'm not sick, but I'm not well" resonated with Gen X listeners and cemented Harvey Danger's place in the late 90s alt-rock scene. However, the band's rapid rise to fame also came with an unintended label. They were often seen as a one-hit wonder defined solely by their debut single. Despite the massive success of Flagpole Sitta, the band struggled to replicate its mainstream appeal. Their follow-up albums, while critically praised, didn't achieve the same level of commercial success. The music industry's shift away from quirky, indie-leaning rock further limited their reach. Frustrated by the industry and the one-hit wonder label, the band quietly disbanded in 2001. In 2005, Harvey Danger reunited briefly, and released a free digital album, earning praise from loyal fans for their dedication to authentic music. However, by 2009, the band called it quits for good. Flagpole Sitta remains a nostalgic anthem of the 90s, frequently used in pop culture, ensuring that Harvey Danger's brief but impactful contribution to music is fondly remembered. Len. In 1999, Canadian band Len released Steal My Sunshine, a breezy, feel-good summer anthem that became an unexpected global hit. The song's playful lyrics, infectious chorus, and catchy beat, built around a sample from Andrea True Connection's More, made it a radio staple and a defining track of the late 90s. Its success was amplified by its sun-soaked music video featuring the band members cruising around in scooters and having fun, capturing the carefree vibe of summer. However, Steal My Sunshine quickly drew criticism for being quirky but shallow, with some critics labeling the band as a one-hit novelty act. Despite the song's enduring popularity, Len struggled to replicate its success. Their follow-up albums failed to produce another hit that resonated with mainstream audiences, and the music industry's shift toward edgier sounds made Len's carefree aesthetic seem outdated. As the 2000s progressed, Len faded from the spotlight, though the band occasionally reunited for small shows and nostalgic tours. Steal My Sunshine has maintained its place in pop culture, frequently featured in commercials, movies, and summer playlists. By 2025, Len's hit remains a beloved throwback, proving that even a single catchy song can leave a lasting impression on an entire generation. EMF. British band EMF shot to fame in 1990 with their infectious hit Unbelievable, an alternative dance track that blended upbeat electronic beats with a rebellious rock edge. The song's shouted chorus, "You're Unbelievable," and its energetic delivery made it an instant success, reaching #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 in the US and becoming a worldwide hit. EMF's irreverent style and brash attitude earned them a dedicated following, and their debut album Schubert Dip was well received. However, the band's rise was not without controversy. Their rebellious persona, cheeky lyrics, and wild stage antics alienated some listeners who viewed them as cocky and immature. Despite their attempts to evolve their sound with their second album, Stigma, the band couldn't match the explosive success of Unbelievable. Their later releases struggled to chart, and internal tensions within the group began to surface. By the mid-90s, EMF disbanded after failing to maintain their early momentum. Although they reunited for brief stints in the 2000s, their legacy remains tied to their one massive hit. Unbelievable continues to be a nostalgic anthem for 90s music fans, frequently used in movies, commercials, and sports events, ensuring that EMF's brief but unforgettable time in the spotlight is not forgotten. The Knack. The Knack became overnight sensations in 1979 with the release of My Sharona, a punchy rock anthem driven by infectious guitar riffs and a catchy chorus. The song spent 6 weeks at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 and became a defining hit of the late 70s. Its success led to comparisons with the Beatles, with many touting the Knack as the next big thing in rock. However, the excitement was short-lived as backlash quickly followed. Critics and listeners took issue with the song's lyrics, interpreting them as misogynistic due to their overt sexual references. The band's cocky attitude and media portrayal as arrogant didn't help their image, and they were soon accused of being a manufactured act rather than authentic musicians. Despite releasing follow-up albums, including But the Little Girls Understand and Round Trip, the Knack struggled to replicate the massive success of My Sharona. Their subsequent singles barely made a dent in the charts, and by the early 80s, the band had disbanded. Though the Knack reunited several times and maintained a loyal fan base, they were never able to shake the label of being a one-hit wonder. Despite the controversy, My Sharona remains a timeless hit, frequently featured in movies, commercials, and retro playlists, cementing the Knack's place in rock history. Aha. In 1985, Norwegian band Aha released Take On Me, a synth-pop masterpiece known for its catchy melody and iconic rotoscope animated music video. The song was an instant success, topping the charts in the US and several other countries. The innovative music video, featuring lead singer Morten Harket stepping between an animated world and reality, captivated audiences, and became one of MTV's most celebrated clips. Despite the massive success of Take On Me, Eiffel faced criticism for their polished image and pretty boy reputation. Some dismissed the band as a flash in the pan rather than serious musicians. Although they continued to release music and achieved significant success in Europe with hits like The Sun Always Shines on TV and Hunting High and Low, they struggled to maintain their presence in the US mainstream. Had disbanded in the early 2010s, but later reunited for special tours and anniversary performances. By 2025, Take On Me remains a beloved 80s anthem and is still referenced in pop culture. The band's resilience and continued success in Europe prove that their talent extended far beyond their debut hit, even if they are still most recognized for their unforgettable introduction to the music world. Soft Cell. Soft Cell's 1981 hit Tainted Love became a defining track of the new wave era, with its haunting synths and Mark Almond's emotive vocals creating a unique blend of dark pop and electronica. The song, a cover of a 1960s soul track by Gloria Jones, was reimagined as a melancholic anthem of obsession and heartbreak. Its slow build and unforgettable beat made it a global sensation, reaching the top of the charts in multiple countries and becoming a club favorite. However, Soft Cell's success was accompanied by controversy. Known for their edgy lyrics and risque live performances, the band often pushed the boundaries of mainstream pop. Their provocative image and experimental approach divided critics and alienated some listeners who found their style too eccentric. Despite releasing more hits like Say Hello, Wave Goodbye, and Torch, Soft Cell could never quite escape the shadow of Tainted Love. Creative differences between Mark Almond and Dave Ball eventually led to the band's split in 1984. While both pursued solo projects, they reunited several times over the years for special performances and anniversary tours. By 2025, Tainted Love remains an enduring hit, frequently sampled and covered by new artists, solidifying Soft Cell's place as pioneers of dark, synth-driven pop. The stories of these bands reveal how one unforgettable song can propel artists to meteoric fame, and just as quickly cast them into the shadows. From My Sharona to Tainted Love, these hits defined eras, topped global charts, and became cultural touchstones. However, behind the success often lay immense pressure, internal conflicts, and industry expectations that led to their downfall. Some bands, like the Verve and Crazy Town, were caught in legal and personal battles that overshadowed their talents. Others, such as Len and Wright Said Fred, were dismissed as novelty acts despite their ambitions for lasting careers. While some artists embraced their one-hit wonder status and found ways to reinvent themselves, many faded quietly from the mainstream despite loyal fan bases and continued creativity. Their journeys highlight the challenges of sustaining relevance in an ever-changing industry and remind us that even fleeting fame can leave a lasting legacy. What's your favorite one-hit wonder? Do you think these bands deserve more recognition, or was their brief time in the spotlight justified? Share your thoughts below and join the conversation about how the music industry shapes, and sometimes limits, the potential of rising stars. After all, some of these disappearing acts still resonate with audiences decades later, proving that one song is sometimes all it takes to make history.